Good day to you children. Welcome to your mathematics class. In today's class, we'll be starting a new chapter known as quadrilaterals. Children, there are lots of theorems in this chapter, but luckily due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the proofs for these theorems have been deleted. So the only thing you need to know is the statements of the theorems and also their application in the exercise problems or the problems given to you by us in the exams. So let us begin by understanding first what are quadrilaterals. In the previous chapter, you have studied about triangles and their constructions. You might have learned that triangle is a polygon with three sides. That means if we have three non-collinear points and when we join each of these individual points, we get what we call as a triangle. It is a closed three-sided figure formed by joining three non-collinear points. That is a triangle. So when we come to quadrilaterals, here quadra, the word quadra means four. So quadrilateral is a polygon formed by joining any four non-collinear points. So here A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D are four non-collinear points, and by joining those points we have formed a quadrilateral. So the definition is it is a polygon. It is a polygon with four sides. What is a polygon with four sides? Quadrilateral is a polygon with four sides. And there are various types of quadrilaterals. The very first type of a quadrilateral is types. The very first type is a parallelogram. Parallelogram is a quadrilateral in which opposite sides are equal to parallel to one another. Parallel and equal to one another. That is a parallelogram. In the second type of quadrilateral is a trapezium. Trapezium is a type of quadrilateral in which only one pair of opposite sides is parallel. Only one pair is parallel to each other. And the third one is rhombus. Rhombus is a special type of parallelogram. Rhombus is a quadrilateral in which opposite sides are parallel and equal. All the sides are equal to one another. In the parallelogram, only opposite sides are parallel to each other, whereas in rhombus, all the sides are parallel to one another. Also, they are equal to one another. The fourth type of quadrilateral is a kite. Fourth type of parallelogram is a kite. A kite is a quadrilateral in which the adjacent sides or the neighboring sides are equal to one another. And the fifth type is a rectangle. Rectangle is a special case of parallelogram once again. A rectangle is a parallelogram in which one of the angles is 90 degrees. Okay, in a rectangle, it is a special type of parallelogram in which one of the angles is 90 degrees. And the last one which we have is a square. The sixth type of quadrilateral is a square, and square is a special case of rhombus in which one of the angles is 90 degrees. So these are the six types of quadrilaterals. First one is parallelogram, second is trapezium, third is rhombus, fourth is kite, fifth is rectangle, and sixth is a square. If you see the figures here, 7.3 types of quadrilaterals, it has been given in your textbook. Here in this figure, in this one, the first figure shows a trapezium. I told you trapezium is a quadrilateral in which only one pair of sides is parallel. Here AB is parallel to CD. Only one pair is parallel to each other. The other set of sides is non-parallel. This is a trapezium. Here, look at the second figure. Second is a parallelogram. Parallelogram is a quadrilateral in which two sets of or opposite sides are parallel to one another, parallel and equal. You can see it here. And now the third one is a rectangle, a special case of parallelogram in which one angle is 90 degrees. Here see, opposite sides are parallel and equal to one another, so it is a parallelogram, but the only difference is that one of the angles is 90 degrees. So this is a rectangle. Now coming to the fourth figure, here you can see the sides are not just parallel, all the sides are equal to one another. DE is equal to EF is equal to FG is equal to GD. They are parallel to one another. Also, they are equal to one another. This is a rhombus. This type of quadrilateral is called as a rhombus. And when one of the angles of rhombus becomes 90 degrees, it is a square. AB is equal to BC is equal to CD is equal to DA. Not just there, all the sides are equal, but they are parallel to one another, and one of the angles is 90 degrees. So fifth one is a square. And lastly, we have what we called as kite. Here you can see adjacent side, that is neighboring sides, are equal to one another. This is the sixth and last type of quadrilateral. Here AD is equal to DC, adjacent sides, not the opposite sides. The adjacent sides are equal to one another. Similarly, AB is equal to BC. So this is a kite. Now we have something known as angle sum property of quadrilaterals. In the previous chapter, that is triangles, you learned that whenever we add all the interior angles of a triangle, the sum is always equal to 180 degrees. Similarly in quadrilaterals, let me draw a simple quadrilateral here. This is also a type of quadrilateral. So now let us label this quadrilateral as A, B, C, D. So this quadrilateral has 4 angles. Unlike triangle, quadrilaterals have 4 sides and 4 angles. So as we said, in a triangle, the sum of all the angles is 180 degrees, or all the interior angles is 180 degrees. Similarly, in a quadrilateral, when we add all the angles, we get angle A plus angle B plus angle C plus angle D is always equal to 360 degrees. This is the angle sum property of quadrilaterals. Actually, there was proof for this angle sum property of quadrilaterals, but it has been deleted. So write in statements: the sum of interior angles of a quadrilateral is 360 degrees. This is the angle sum property of quadrilaterals. So the next section of the chapter mainly focuses on various properties of parallelograms and how different quadrilaterals can become parallelograms. So here in this figure I have drawn a parallelogram, a simple parallelogram, and let us label it as ABCD. You can give any of your own any names of your choice. So here I am naming it as ABCD. So first let us understand what are the different parts of this parallelogram. Here point A, point B, point C and point D are called as vertices of the parallelogram, and angle D, angle A, angle B, angle C are the interior angles of the parallelogram. In this parallelogram ABCD, in parallelogram ABCD, AB is parallel to CD and AB is equal to CD. Similarly, AD is parallel to BC and AD is equal to BC. So in a parallelogram, always opposite sides are equal and parallel to one another. Now there is one more component in quadrilaterals which we call as diagonal. Diagonal is a line segment which joins two non-adjacent vertices. So in a quadrilateral, the non-adjacent vertices are the opposite vertices. So here AC is a diagonal and BD is also a diagonal. Remember, diagonal is a line segment which joins any two non-adjacent vertices in a polygon. Not just quadrilaterals, diagonals are also present in pentagons, hexagons, heptagons and so on. So here in our parallelogram ABCD, AC and DB are the diagonals. So now let us look at some of the theorems associated with the parallelograms. Keep in mind, once again I am repeating this thing, there are no proofs for these theorems. All you have to do is remember the statements and know how these statements or these theorems are applied in solving the problems given in the chapter. The first theorem associated with the parallelograms is about their diagonals. As I said before, diagonals are the line segments which join any two non-adjacent sides of a quadrilateral or a polygon. So before in the figure we saw that AC and BD were two diagonals of the parallelogram. So the first theorem states that diagonals of a parallelogram divides it into two congruent triangles. So according to this theorem, if we have a parallelogram, draw the diagram with scale and pencil, children, otherwise you will not get a parallelogram, you will get something else entirely. So here we have a parallelogram EF, GH and FH is a diagonal. Then according to the theorem, triangle EFH is congruent to triangle FGH. That is the statement of the theorem. Diagonal of a parallelogram divides it into two congruent triangles or two equal parts. That is the first theorem associated with parallelograms. The second theorem says that in a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal. I have been saying this from the beginning of the chapter that parallelogram has opposite sides parallel and equal to one another. So the statement of the second theorem says in the parallelogram opposite sides are equal. So in our parallelogram EFGH, EF is equal to GH and EH is equal to FG. They are parallel sides and opposite sides and they are equal to one another. Third theorem is the converse of the second theorem. In the second theorem we said that in a parallelogram opposite sides are equal. So theorem 3 says that if in a quadrilateral opposite sides are equal, then it is a parallelogram. So take any of the quadrilaterals, and if you find that the opposite sides of that quadrilateral are equal to one another, then without a doubt that quadrilateral is a parallelogram. That is why in the definition I said that rhombus is a special case of parallelogram, rectangle is a special case of parallelogram, and square is also a special case of parallelogram, because in all three, that is rhombus, square and a rectangle, the opposite sides are always equal to one another. That is why a quadrilateral whose opposite sides are equal is always a parallelogram. That is the third theorem. The fourth theorem says that in a parallelogram, opposite angles are equal. So in our parallelogram EFGH, angle E is equal to angle G. Angle E is equal to angle G, and angle F is equal to angle H. In a parallelogram, opposite sides are equal, also opposite angles are equal. That is the statement of fourth theorem. And just like how theorem 3 was a converse, theorem 5 is also a converse. If in a quadrilateral, theorem 5 says, if in a quadrilateral opposite angles are equal, then it is a parallelogram. It's a parallelogram. That is the statement of fifth theorem. So if any quadrilateral wants to be a parallelogram, then its opposite sides must be equal to one another, and also the opposite angles must be equal to one another. Then only it can become a parallelogram. Theorem 6 is once again about the diagonals. It says in a parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other. That is the sixth theorem. It means that if we have a parallelogram, say PQRS, and its diagonals are QS and PR. QS and PR are the diagonals. Then PR and QS bisect each other. That means they divide each other into two equal parts. That is the statement of the sixth theorem. Whereas the seventh and the last theorem says, if the diagonals of a quadrilateral bisect each other, then it is a parallelogram. So we know that parallelogram diagonals bisect each other, and if in any quadrilateral the diagonals are bisecting each other, then it automatically becomes a parallelogram. So these are the seven first major theorems which describe the properties of a parallelogram, and also provides the conditions based upon which we can determine whether any given quadrilateral is a parallelogram or not. We have one last theorem through which we can prove that any quadrilateral is a parallelogram. It is the least minimum required condition that has to be satisfied by any kind of quadrilateral to become a parallelogram, and that is if a quadrilateral is a parallelogram if a pair of its opposite sides are equal and parallel. This is the last and eighth theorem which sets the minimum condition for any quadrilateral to be a parallelogram. It says a quadrilateral is a parallelogram if a pair of its opposite sides are equal and parallel. Forget about the angles, forget about the diagonals. If in a quadrilateral opposite sides are parallel and equal, then it automatically becomes a parallelogram. In the next class, we'll be looking at the solved examples and also at the first exercise of the chapter quadrilaterals. This is all for today. Go through the theorems and write them in your fair books along with appropriate diagrams, and that's all for today. Thank you.